something that looks pretty different than the other things, something that doesn't include the words automation and the words agile, the words that everyone wants to listen. So this topic is about that. We will do an exercise, but first let me introduce myself. My name is Gjore Zaharchev. Some official title, Quality Assurance Coordinator. I work for Sivas. It's a multinational company. We actually have an office here in Minsk, in the downtown. I'm software testing consultant with more than 13 years of experience. Yeah, I'm one of the younger speakers. I'm teaching software testing. I started teaching software testing 2 years ago in a foreign country, actually in Nishin Serbia, that is near Macedonia, because I'm originally from Macedonia. So I started teaching there, and it succeeds. So now I have academy in Skopje, where I'm teaching, where I have 4 groups at the moment, where I'm teaching after 5:30, so not during my work day. Then I'm also a conferences and testing meetup speaker. So why I like this conference? Because of the translation, we don't only have delayed laugh on my jokes, but we will also have longer laughs. So that will be the positive. That will be the positive thing of this conference. And I'm saying about me that I am agile and testing evangelist. So I want to talk a lot about testing, automation, agile testing, and so on and so on. But before we do the presentation, I will just show you a video. So I will ask all of you to be focused on the video and to follow the steps that video is asking. So the video will ask you to count how many passes the team in white makes.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make?
Oops. Did you count it? How many? 13. Who counted more? Who counted less? Who saw the bear? So, yeah. So actually,
The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
yeah, watch the video again. That is how we are doing the testing. We are doing the testing on what we are asked to do. We are not spotting the things that are not obvious, the things that we are not told to do. This is the problem. I'm always saying, testing the requirement is not the problem. Testing the lack of requirement, the missing requirements, that is the problem. So we are asked to count, we are just counting. We are not asked to spot the other things that are not counting. This presentation is about the non-obvious things, not something that we have, sorry, maybe I need to click here, yeah. We'll talk about 4 things in general. How we do software testing, challenges that we have at the moment, some beyond the obvious things that we can solve, some of the challenges, because we don't have plenty of time to solve all of the challenges, and some summary of how what we did. So how we do a software testing? Yeah, as I said, we are doing the obvious things, something that developers already tested. Just we are repeating, if someone missed something, we are repeating the things if not someone missed, but if some change was done, but nobody noticed, and so on. We have heard about tours from James Whittaker. He's talking about testing like exploring the city, like tours through the city. But can we fit all of these demands, all of these ideas? Can we put a general idea to test that? Is that something can fit in all our cases? Actually, we cannot fit. If you went to Sofia, Bulgaria, you don't have a river. If you don't go to Athens, you don't have a river. So you cannot put the same thing, you cannot apply the same solution to a different problem. Even if we're reading a lot about that, the book was very popular. I think it's 2008, written from James Whittaker. He was in Microsoft, in Google, then returned back to Microsoft, and so on and so on. What else we have? We have different approaches. Useless test process. So we are just putting a test process that does not fit all of our needs. We put a test strategy. We are writing a test strategy that even if we don't fulfill it, even if we change, we don't update it, we don't care about that. So why we're spending time on it? Maybe not so many people here are putting in place test processes, test strategies, but test plans. I believe 30–40% of you are asked to write test plan. And whoever you ask in this room, how often are you updating your test plan because of the changes? All of you will respond that you're not updating. I noticed that a lot of times, and almost no one, maybe there will be some exceptions, but almost no one is updating the test plan. And I'm asking why you're writing it first place if you're not updating, if you don't care about it, because there is no reason to do it. Actually, there is no reason to do it if you're not updating. And the response is always the same, and you will think on the same response. What if someone asks me to provide him a test plan? Why you're providing something that is not accurate? Then we have useless test estimation. We are estimating a lot, but we never guess the estimation. We are underestimating. We never did in the time period that we planned, because there are a lot of concerns. Developers didn't finish on time. We have a lot of defects reported. We don't have time for the developers to fix them. So we are beyond the schedule. We are just seeing our job. We are just estimating our job. We are not estimating how much will cost us when all of the people are involved in the process. Then we have useless test cases. We are writing so many test cases, so many repetitive redundancy in the test cases. We don't consider how to reduce these steps. We don't see how to improve these things. Is there a need for a lot of things to be written? Is it something that can be tested and something that can be, reused again? Then we have useless test automation. We are putting test automation on everything. We are not focusing on the main goals, on something that we will benefit. Smoke test, regression test. We are focusing just add test. Do we have infrastructure to run all of these automation tests? Usually, even I'm working for one of the, actually the second biggest financial institution in the world. Even they don't have enough resources to run automated tests that will take more than a few hours. They are saving money. They are not just throwing the money and investing in infrastructure. So that's why we need to be very detailed in the test automation. And the last thing, that we are not using any test design techniques. We are just focusing on heuristics. We are just trying to find a silver bullet. One solution, as I show you the example with the tours. One solution fit holes, one size fit holes. It's impossible. There is no such thing. So we need to try to focus on testing techniques or test design techniques and heuristics. And for the last, the biggest problem that we have, we are stuck with the tradition. The company started working on that way 15 years ago, and we are continuing to do on the same way because someone 15 years ago established that process. very often people are not daring to change anything in the established process. We are stuck with the tradition. This is maybe the biggest problem. So there is a joke about that about the chicken and the pan when the wife was cooking the chicken, and the man brought the chicken, she cut it in pieces, put it in the oven, she baked it, and the man asked, why you're cutting on so many pieces? Why you're not baking the entire chicken? And she asked, I was told like that, and I'm doing it that way. And at that moment, she called her mother, why we're baking the chicken like that? And she said, your grandma told me like that, and I'm doing it that way. And because the grandma was alive, and the mother called her and asked, why we're cutting the chicken and then baking? And the answer was, you didn't bought a bigger pot so far? You're still baking in the small one? So we are doing tradition because at that moment, that was something that it was normal to be done on that way, because we didn't have resources to do it on that on different way. Oops. Sorry. What are the challenges that we are facing every day on daily basis? We are facing with that we have distributed teams. We have so many problems when we are in distributed teams. We cannot find at the exact time someone to communicate. He has different working time. He is in United States, Australia, so on and so on. When we're working on the systems, we need to deliver as fast as possible. We don't have time to plan things, do the things, but we need to do everything at the same time. We need to do multitasking. Actually, we don't need to do, but people think that we need to do multitasking. We have competitors that they're unpredicted. We don't know what they're planning, especially for those who work in startup sectors, actually in startup companies, because they're competing constantly. We don't know what the competitors have. If we wait for the competitors to come with the solution and then take that solution, it's too late. So this is one of the problems. Then we have so many cloud solutions. We have Azure, we have Amazon Web Services, we have that cloud, this cloud. Actually, when someone is talking about clouds, I'm always joking, like we have Cumulus, we have Stratus's, Nimbus Stratus's, the real names of the clouds. So it's very difficult nowadays. Maybe 5 years ago, it was only, actually there were a few, but we knew only about Amazon Web Services. But now, we even changed during the entire process. We have so many devices to cover when we are testing mobile applications, so many screen resolutions. This is even a big problem. Sometimes companies cannot afford hiring more and more people. Oops. The demanding number of professionals is growing because people are leaving the project in the middle of the project, in the middle of the sprint, so we are getting more and more work to finish for someone else. We have some systems that I'm calling system of a system. Huge monsters, huge applications that have backends, that have reporting engines, that have business intelligence reports, a lot of things that it's pretty difficult to test. We are not going to be able to solve all of these problems during this presentation, but we can solve at least few. So this is maybe the biggest paradox. Managers, developers, and executives don't understand testing. So very often, I know that for Belarus for sure, that also for the Eastern Europe, that managers are making the decisions for the testers. That is a problem, that they don't understand the testing, not as a process, but they don't understand as an activity. Testing is not process, testing is activity. Testers don't know how to talk about testing. Yeah, we know how to do the testing, but it's very difficult to explain what we did, how we are doing, how to do it better. The bigger problem is most testers don't really understand testing either. As I said, demanding market is leading us to this. We have so huge need for testers that we are hiring people that are not engineers. We are hiring a lot of people who didn't understand mathematics, didn't understand logic, because there are some other profession like law, medicine, and so on. And we are not giving proper training to them. That is even bigger problem. We are constantly talking that, yeah, this is the first victim of automation. We are constantly talking that automation will replace us. Forget about that. In the next 5 to 10 years, automation will not replace us. Let's focus on solving the problems. First of all, let's get out of the comfort zone in order to solve the problems. If we don't get out of the comfort zone, we cannot solve any problems. This is the biggest challenge for all of us here. Oops, some of you wanted to take pictures, sorry. So, beyond the obvious, if we are not looking for the obvious, we will spend 2 months on finding that book number 6 is missing. But actually, is it missing? Of course not. So we are spotting, we are just looking, we are focused on the problem to find the book 6 between 5 and 7. We are not looking the book beyond that. Oops, sorry. The problem that came with the electric light, it didn't came with from the continuous improvement of the candles. Sometimes you need to wipe out all of the things that you used and start from scratch. Don't reinvent the things, don't try to improve the things that don't work. Just wipe out everything, start from scratch. Just another thought. So, what is obvious, what is beyond the obvious? As I said, we are just focusing on the things that we are given, what we have at the moment, but we are not focusing on the things that we are missing. We are missing a lot of things. Skilled and motivated testers can identify majority of the risk as early as possible. So our job is not to find the problems. Our job is to prevent the problems. If we follow the rule of the developers that errors equal more code on Square, so we need to focus more with the testing, but with smarter testing. We cannot focus on testing just to say, yeah, we documented that, we documented this, we spent so much time on documentation. Focus on the problems, try to find, to break the things. How to do, here is an interesting heuristic of passionate tester. What you need to do to start from yourself, because the biggest problem is how to initiate changes in the organization. You need to prove that you are ready for change, and everyone else will accept that and will do a change. If you are saying you need to change, no one will change, because you're not proving that you are able to change. Start from yourself. San Francisco Depot. Maybe you know this heuristic for mobile testing. We don't need to write a single line of a test case in order to test a mobile application. Yeah, it's a simplified version because all of these have explanation in behind. So we need to focus on time, operations, platform, structure, functions, and data. So it's SFD pod. It's very famous heuristic for mobile testing. If we divide the things and if we get the explanation, you can Google it and find all the explanations behind it. There is no need to repeat the same test cases over and over again on every version, on every new application. Extended version of San Francisco Depot. So these are the things, enable, disable for notifications, and so on and so on. So if we put everything in this mind map, we have very huge coverage. Coverage that is even bigger than the test cases that this group of people will write them in a week. Only these things have bigger coverage. Why? Because we are not repeating the things millions of times. We are not doing redundancy, something that is difficult to be maintained. Another heuristic for testing web browser. So we can find this heuristic, what we need to test related to the browser, not related to the system, because we're missing the things related to the browser. We're just focusing on the thing that we are asked for. We are asked to do testing on the application. But how that application behaves when we do different approaches from the browser, no one focused on that. Most probably you didn't even think on these things. I mentioned the regression testing. So how to beat the regression testing, how to focus on a good criteria for regression testing. Just another heuristic about recent, core, risky, configuration, repaired, and chronic. If you divide the things in these 6 criteria, you will ensure that you have coverage that was affected with the last delivery. So you're not going beyond that. You're not wasting time. So if you select your test automation, your tests based on the criteria, you will have a better automation. How many of you know about the pairwise testing? It's okay number. So pairwise testing is a pretty good test design technique, how to generate reasonable amount of tests. You can go for beginning with 2-way testing, then with 3-way, and so on, until you get to n-wise, and you don't need to execute n-wise. 2-way testing ensures 90% coverage if you have good criteria. So this is just a sample technique that I gave. You can use the other techniques that are in ISTQB, the other techniques, maybe they are mentioned in the advanced level of ISTQB, but I don't know. So you can use a lot of techniques found on the internet. You can use a lot of heuristics, like the heuristics I mentioned, and there are a lot of other heuristics. For example, in order to test a number field that accepts values from 0 to 9, let's say, or 999, besides using the boundary value analysis that will test only 5 values, you have at least 20 other things that you need to test, like empty spaces at the beginning, in the middle, at the end, alpha characters, special characters, minus, and so on and so on. At least 70 to 20 other things that you can test. Is it mandatory? Is it optional? And so on and so on. A lot of testing concepts that can help you to develop a better test. So session-based testing is one of the things how to solve the problem with a lot of huge documentation that cannot be maintained. Cheat sheets. Do you know the Elizabeth Hendrickson cheat sheet about data type attacks, about wisdom, testing wisdom? Has anyone heard about that? So it's pretty good. Just Google it. Elizabeth Hendrickson cheat sheets. Or just use the word cheat sheet. It will be a first result. It's for me at least because I'm searching a lot about that, so maybe it won't be for you. Testing techniques. Use at least 5 testing techniques. In the next 3 weeks, learn about at least 5 test design techniques. Checklists. Try to do a checklist for smoke test, for regression testing. Instead of writing comprehensive tests, a lot of documentation, try to simplify it and try to do it in a checklist form. Yeah, use the tools. The book that I referenced, Explore It, from James Whittaker. The book is named Explore It. But don't see on that as a single solution. It's not a silver bullet. It only solves one problem. Mind maps. Use mind maps a lot to put a documentation. Mind maps are diagrams. Diagrams, like UML, Unified Modeling Language, is an engineering language to understand the things. When you have a board, and you have a mind map, it's better to explain to the other people what you're tending to do instead of having a fairy tale. If you have a 20 pages book, like a fairy tale, no one will read it. No one will even go beyond the 3rd page because it's too much. I'm not going to read it because definitely I don't have time to do that. Some interesting principles or commandments, 7 commandments for software testing. So how to use them and how to benefit a better software testing. I don't need to go one by one, but our priority is improving the business. Either we work for a client or we have our own product. The product is our baby. We need to face it that our baby is ugly, and we need to start improving. We need to find a way how to help that baby. It's our product, so we need to consider it as we own it. regardless for who we are making. Let's not focus on that we are working for someone. The first moment when we are realizing that we are working for ourselves, we will have improvements. There are a lot of interesting things. The coaching part, the fourth rule. If we know something more, we need to coach the other team members. We don't need to become, I hate the words like manager, I'm a leader, and I'm just counting how much you did. I love the words like mentoring and coaching. If I know something more than you, if you fail doing something, I will teach you how to do it. I'm not giving you a fish. I'm teaching you how to get a fish from the sea, how to get more fishes from the sea. That is the thing that all of you need to achieve. Maybe some of you are just beginners. They don't have from whom to learn. But in 2-3 years, learn from yourself. In 2-3 years, practice this, try on your new employees, and you will see how many you will benefit of it. You can take a picture because I was in front of it, the ones who... Oops. I'm seeing more phones, so thanks. Any more phones, or I can continue? Okay. Recap. What we have learned. Tester job is not to detect defects, but instead to prevent them. We have a lot of mechanisms to prevent defects. As I said, don't focus on what you have, like the requirements. Focus on the lack of requirements, something that you don't have and something that you don't know. Try to understand that. What we don't have, what we need to put. Current testing process is not designed for the demands of 2019. In 2 months will be 2020. That is a big problem. We are trying to put a solutions from the past century. We are trying to put a solution that worked for some simple applications, accounting softwares, simple government solutions somewhere. We have a huge systems. We have a huge applications that are for daily uses. We are not training the users. Yeah, that's not working, but if you use this flow, it will work for you. We have a workaround. You cannot tell that to your customers. You cannot tell that to the people who will use the software. Better testing can be achieved with highly skilled and constantly trained professionals. Even if people are not coming from the engineering background. Even if we have people who are switching from law, from, I don't know, medicine, and so on. Economics. Even if there are such people here. Constantly learn new things. At least every morning when you get up, read one blog article about software testing. Even if it's the worst one, you will learn more from that. You will see how, maybe we cannot teach you how to do better, but we can teach you how not to do, because these were the mistakes that we did. Obvious defects can be noticed by anyone. So anyone, from the developers, from everyone can spot a simple defect that is obvious. Try to test things that are beyond that. Try to put combinations that can find defects beyond the obvious thing, beyond what you're seeing on the screen. Try to test the APIs. Not always the web will show you all of the defects. Try to run API tests on that, so you're testing the things that are not obvious to you. And that's pretty much all. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes? Just Russian or English?
Hello?
Yep.
On the page with 7 sentences and green creature, the sentence number 5, only customer, only the one comparable to judge the evaluate quality of the project. Could you explain this?
Yeah. Yeah, actually this is from Ministry of Testing, and it is the truth. The one who requested the software actually knows the best what he needs. Because we are not requesting the software as testers, We're just trying to break the things that are not obvious beyond that, that someone does not have evil mind to harm our application. That will be our job. But for the business rules, for how it should work for the business rule, we need to refer to our customers or stakeholders who will use this software. Some other question? We can go whenever. I think we have 10 minutes, so.
In Russia. Yeah. Спасибо за доклад. Вопрос. Если такая ситуация, когда тестировщик подумал о неочевидном, проверил это.
Is there a situation when
It was the link.
Хорошо.
We'll repeat again. Imagine when a tester is thinking about non-obvious, is spending his time on this, and there's no benefit in sight, basically. How do tester explains to the business owner why he spent this time on this?
So if I understand the question, tester is focusing on non-obvious things, but he doesn't have results. If you don't get results on in a fast period, you need to try to change the approach. That is one of the questions that I'm asking on some interviews. When are you getting tired from trying one thing? And I'm getting an answer that I don't like. I never give up. So you need to give up. To give up on this and find another solution. If the proposed solution you've tried doesn't work, it means that it will not work in the future. So try to find another solution. That is how you will bring results. If you're trying harder and not giving up, then you will face that situation when you're unable to explain to managers why you're failing. Does this answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
We have some questions here. Where is the moderator? I don't know who is first. I don't count, so we can start from first row or last row, however you want. Yeah, here. Oh, it doesn't work, that microphone, that's why.
Thank you for the presentation. So I'm Claudio from Dashlane. I wanted to ask you, how do you evaluate the effort that it takes to discover something, an issue, if it's a corner case? So if I spend a lot of time to find a situation that it's very difficult, it's going to be very difficult to happen. I need
Actually, the idea is not to spend a lot, because the idea is to be trained for these things. That's why I said in the next 2 weeks, try to learn as much as possible about test design techniques. The idea is not going through documentation where it was. The idea is to just remember what you can do with that field, to face out with all, with the bigger coverage at the moment. So spend less time. So if you're trained for these things, you will not spend a lot of time on just searching where it was, or just going through test case where it was in test case number 958. Yeah, the idea is that to have a faster solution, just getting all the situation based on your knowledge and experience about that technique. Hope that answers your question. Some other questions behind, or we can go with the two here. Yeah.
Thank you for your lecture. I have a question. You said that we should focus on things that's not obvious, and simple things, they could be found by anybody. But who should find them if we don't look on them? You think it should be covered by automation?
When you're doing regression testing, that's why I gave heuristics. If you're focused on the obvious things that you know that can be noticed even by the end user, just try to put based on the criteria. How many of you are retesting the defects that were fixed in the last sprint? So fixing one thing can break 10 different things. That is the non-obvious thing. So as I mentioned about the estimation, try to estimate the things like who will do that, who will do the fix. Is he someone who is making more defects than Should I trust that person? Don't trust anyone, believe me, except me. Except me. So there are a lot of things that are not obvious. I'm not talking about simple things. For example, you're going through the smoke test every day. These are obvious things. So you don't need to reinvent them every day. So it will take you 15 minutes to finish that, but focus basically on the things that you're not seeing. Try to, for example, on the sprint planning, try to question the things that are not in the documentation. Because the documentation thinks it's better, it's easier to understand them because they're written. But what about the things that are not written? What is the thing that we're missing? What is the missing link?
Yeah. Thank you.
Some other question I think you had, or you forget the question?
Добрый день, вечер уже.
Good evening, thank you for the presentation. In fact, as you said, I could have forgotten the question, but the previous 3 questions, they are actually similar to what I want to ask. I want to clarify. If we talk that we want to test something which is not obvious, can you give us statistics when testing of non-obvious things brought or found some critical things that nobody would think about, but at the same time releasing the product with this defect would be non-advisable? And I want to focus on the following. As a testing outside the obvious, do you use the testing of accessibility for people with disabilities? Is this in your practice?
Basically, yeah. Thank you for the question. If I understand correctly, the question it's about statistics. Can I deliver statistics of how testing beyond the obvious saved a project and didn't brought any issues? That was the first part of the question. The other part, as I understand, it was how we do accessibility testing. Are we doing accessibility testing? Yes. Have you heard about the prevention of the World War III? So I think 30 years ago, Russians made it a software, an artificial intelligence software that will detect American missiles. But they didn't think beyond the obvious. The software was tested under clear weather conditions. When they put it in production, clouds show up, and the Russian solution, almost because of some general, decided not to press the button and attack America, because he said, this is not possible. They cannot come in seconds. It is impossible. We know from the information that we have from our organization that they cannot come in seconds. This was the non-obvious things that they didn't count. Regarding the second question, depends on software to software, because we have also working on testing solutions for deaf people and people with disabilities on the vision. Yes, we're putting effort, but only on these softwares. When we have a solution that is meant not for these people, even if we don't know who are the users, the problem is that we don't put any effort on that because we're not product-oriented, but service-oriented customers don't want to focus on that because their assumption is that all the customers don't have any of these disabilities. They have with the hearing or they have with the vision. So if it's requested, yes. Just another. Did I answer the question?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. One more question over there. The last one. Yeah. Okay, the last one, because we're running out of time. So.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. I was wondering if you thought about replacing all of this going beyond the obvious, just replace it with gaining a lot of feedback and working with reviews, because of course you can not notice everything, and maybe you should just concentrate on the things that are important for users and put it, inside the center of your attention.
Rule number 1, question everything. You don't know what is important for users because you're inventing new platform, let's say trading platform. You don't know what is important for the users. you're doing for a first time. If you're doing some software that is for a bank, you know, even if something is not working, you have a workaround. We will put in database operations team, we'll put in database and correct that transaction. Maybe someone is scared from the banking systems, but actually we should not be scared from systems that are used with from a small group of people that are trained to do that. We should not be afraid of that. We should be afraid of testing systems, payment systems that anyone from internet will use it. We don't know how that person wants to harm the system. He will try all combinations that we forget that, because we are focusing just on the payment flow. So that is more important. It depends on the context, so it's a context-driven approach. If you have a context, for example, if it's internal application, one person will use it, no need to focus on the things because you always have a workaround. Database, just put it in the database. But if it's something that will be used around the globe for anyone, then you need to put a focus on these things. So you need to make the decision. How you can make the decision is based on the experience and based on a lot of things. For example, even these test design techniques. As I mentioned, pairwise testing. You have two-pair testing, focusing on the most relevant things. Three-pair testing, you are going beyond that and just testing one more layer. If you go to 6, 7 pair testing, so it's the same pairwise, so all pairs is 2 pairs, you're having millions of tests to cover, but you don't have any need because you already covered 90% of the application.
Okay.
Does this answer, or?
Yeah, I understand you. In short, you mean that it's like an approach we can apply to test design, and that's not what...
A lot of things, yeah. As I mentioned here, I brought things that can be applied in test design, things that can be applied in regression testing, things can be applied in learning things. So there are so many problems that need to be solved. For each of them, we can talk about a week about how to find a better solution. It's just ideas how to go better than that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no more questions because we're running out of time. Don't forget to vote, so you have on the board. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, and who asked a question? Can you raise your hand, because we have only one girl? Can we give the ticket to the girl? Okay, so because we need to have equality. Thank you very much.